15-16 to 210,000 in 16-17. So
some of it was, you know, when I was putting it on the document as well, which year do you put it? Which year do you put it?
I'm not challenging that at all.
Yep,
Just
and
something
then I struggled on, all right, how much time do I really need to spend on trying to make them all so it's really flat line? I mean, that is important too, if we're gonna go after whatever funding source we're gonna go after, if we are going after one, to know, or how we're gonna handle it. Yeah, flat line's best.
What is the capital budget annually roughly?
Capital budget annually is
1.6.
1.6, but a certain amount of that is taken up every year with
Study and technology and
Some other
building
things too
equipment,
going there, yeah.
Lots of needs.
each building gets an allotment for furniture and things like that too, so everybody gets their piece of the pie, and I'm in there fighting to get mine.
Yes.
How are we insured against catastrophic losses like the tornadoes that?
How are we insured?
Yeah, so if we had a tornado come through town and wipe out one of our schools, how would we be covered?
Ta-da!
We do have property insurance through Hartman Insurance. We just approved that in June, our property and liability casualty.
So would we roughly have replacement loss?
Yes, we do.
Grant Wilson and I spend a bit of time every year going through the values of the buildings, the contents of the building. Every few years we really dig deep and look at everything we have to know what the value is. We have over $100 million worth of assets in buildings.
Most school districts have a pretty thorough and comprehensive insurance plan. I mean, from inland marine to property to boiler, all those different things. So pretty comfortable with what we're coverage.
Just if I might add one thing, Kevin, that this is a great document, as you can see, and Eller is our financial consultant, the one that helps us with our bond issues and all of that. They do have some tools that can help us when it comes to financing these things. So we are relying on our capital, operating capital money to do this, but when they saw that Kevin had this, we're kind of the first district to do this, that they've seen, they said, this is great, because now we can take this, and particularly this page with all the numbers, and look at it and help you identify how you can get these things done without having to pass a levy. There are other tools to use, so this will be kind of the next step. If you think this is a good thing, then that's the next step that we should do, is talk to others and plan for the future to get some of these larger ticket items done.
none of this includes infrastructure for technology, though, does it?
And we hit, how much did we invest this summer for infrastructure? Do you remember what we shifted over there?
Yes.
It was
About 700,000 between this summer and
next.
June and July and August. We invested in technology. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin? Kevin, thank you for bringing this together. I agree with Jerry. Sort of for informational purposes, I would sort of like to see the breakout of this. I don't know that it needs to be another board meeting presentation. For my purposes, I'd sort of like to see the longer spreadsheet and get an idea of how big some of the projects are and those sorts of things. As you have the time to do that, and I think at this point, the effort you've put into sort of balancing it year by year, I think is appropriate for the moment. And I think if I could just get a sense of what those projects are that are in here, that would be great. Wonderful. Any other questions for Kevin? Howard?
Mr. President, I'd just like to commend Kevin. I understand this was no boilerplate thing. It's something he put together.
Yeah.
And I think it's excellent, good information for us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Other comments or questions? Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate it. Okay. Next on our agenda.
Action item on the facilities.
Oh, we need to accept this plan. Okay. Thank you, Richard. So the chair will at this time accept the motion to approve this facilities plan.
So moved.
The motion, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept this long-range capital facilities plan. Any further discussion?
Well, what does this commit us to?
It doesn't commit you to anything. It's just a plan that we're looking it's more of a guideline for us to make decisions in the future.
We're just acknowledging that we've
Yep.
kind of received it
Yep, it's something that we're gonna be using with Ehlers and any other sort of facility planning.
But it's not something they can come
You're not
back
have
and
to-
say, well, you approved this.
No, you're not
Well,
committed
I
to
see.
those dollars.
All
No.
right.
It's an important clarification.
It
Thank
is.
you, Howard. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, the next item on the budget, is item 8C. For the budget, we have some reports, starting with the enrollment report. I don't know if there's anything new you wanna share with us here, Colleen? Doesn't look like the numbers have changed much since the last meeting over the summer, that might be expected. Any questions on that? All right. We also have the financial report indicating the amounts, the expenditures, and receipts of the district as we usually get. Any questions on any of that? Okay, hearing none, we move right along to item 8D, other matters. Let me find my place in my. So the first item is to approve an agreement with the City of Faribault for the Youth Liaison Program.
And this is just the agreement that we have with our current police liaisons with our with the city. It's an agreement. You see the increase is about $1,400. So we have drafted up. The city has approved it, haven't they? Or they haven't yet. They're waiting for us to approve it first. Or did they approve it?
They've signed.
Oh, they did sign it. So they're waiting for our approval for it.
So move. Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with the City of Faribault for the Youth Liaison Program. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, the approval of the annual business office resolution for the fiscal year 2013. Todd. tell us
And
about
I'm
it.
probably going to turn this over to Colleen and let her go through this for you.
Okay, these resolutions we approve every July, they're pretty standard, so the first one is designating depositories, and we have three different institutions that we use. The Minnesota School District Liquid Asset Fund, that's where all our state aids get deposited into. The Wells Fargo Bank here in Faribault that we use for most of our accounts payable, and then the State Bank of Faribault we use for our payroll accounts, so you're designating those three as depositories. The second resolution designates an official publication, which we in the past have used the Faribault Daily News, and we're recommending that you continue to use the Faribault Daily News as our official publication.
It's a headline tomorrow.
The third one is a resolution relating to authorizing the use of facsimile signatures. This allows us to print checks and use your, a stamp, not a stamp, I mean, it's actually in the computer system, a bitmap of your signature, so that you don't have to come and sign all 1,000 checks that we write every month. So that's what that resolution allows us to do. And then the next resolution, 12-13, allows us to pay claims between board meetings. As you know, you only meet once a month, but there are bills that have to be paid within that time frame. So you directed the Director of Finance and Operations to make those payments prior to a board meeting. Resolution 12-14 combines the duties of clerk and treasurer in a single person and delegates that to the Director of Finance and Operations. So again, the clerk and the treasurer don't have to necessarily be in the district office on any given day when we need to have something done. And that's all allowed per statute. 12-15 authorizes 3 petty cash funds. We have 1 additional petty cash fund this year, and that's for the Community Education Change Fund, because they will be taking registration, so they are going to need to have a cash register with some petty cash in it. Resolution 12-16 allows the Director of Finance and Operations to purchase and sell and transfer investments. And 12- I think that's supposed to be 17, not 71 maybe.
I got 17.
I got 17.
I got
Just fix
71.
someplace.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be 17, maybe.
Absolutely.
That is a resolution declaring certain textbooks as surplus. The non-public aids that we get, we're the overseer of those funds. Non-public schools are allowed to buy textbooks with their non-public aids. Technically, those textbooks belong to us. This allows us to declare them as surplus 8 years after they've not been used. And that's it. Those are all the standard resolutions.
Okay. Any questions or comments on these, Jerry?
You wanna take, have a motion first, or can we discuss it? I just have one question.
Why don't we discuss it first? Go ahead.
Okay, on 1210, designation of depositories.
Yep.
Other than the Minnesota Liquid Assets Fund, how often do we have conversations with other banks in the communities about utilizing them as well as State Bank and Wells Fargo?
In the 4 years I've been here, we haven't done anything. We've talked about putting out an RFP, a request for proposal, but we haven't. I don't know prior to that if there has been. I don't know how. I think we've had a very long-standing relationship with both these banks, is my understanding.
Might be worth just a discussion in the future to take a look at least having some conversations with the other, there are 3 other banks in town
Yeah.
that we might want to talk to.
And technically, you have to put it out as an RFP, so you don't want to be picking and choosing.
No, I understand
So,
that.
and it's not something you certainly want to do every year, because
No,
switching bank
absolutely
accounts
not.
is not easy, but it definitely is something worth looking at.
Okay. Thank you.
At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve all of these resolutions as proposed.
So move.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, this is a resolution, I think. We will, I'll ask the clerk to please do a roll call for us.
James Wolf,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jason Ingber,
Aye.
Deb Davis,
Aye.
Tom Casper,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye, 7-0.
Okay, next item, approve post-issuance debt compliance policy and procedures.
When I read this scared me a little, but I'm assured that it's not as in-depth and scary as it looks. In my memo, I addressed the fact that as part of the paperwork for bond sales, we're required to file an IRS Form 8038. It's an information return for tax-exempt government obligations. And last year, this form was changed to include 2 new questions. The IRS now asks you if you have a written policy and written procedures in place that ensure compliance with IRS regulations regarding bonds and bond sales. And this form is filed by our financial consultant. It's part of what they do as part of the bond sale. If these boxes are not checked, meaning we don't have those policies and procedures in place, then that sends a red flag to the IRS and could trigger an IRS audit, which no one particularly wants. So Ellers, our financial consultants, have put together these policies and procedures. Are used by any district that has a bond sale, and it's what we need to have in order to comply with that form to be able to say, yes, we have it. So unfortunately, the timing on this is not the greatest. That form has to be filed in August before the next board meeting. So I'm asking you to approve this policy without going through the first and second reading. It doesn't affect anything educationally. All it does is say that the Director of Finance and Operations make sure that all the paperwork is in order, that we're complying with arbitrage regulations, which I've checked everything, and it's not a problem. We are fine and okay, but we do need to have this policy, and we do need to have the procedures in order to check those boxes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. So, just to see if I understand here, so this is a policy that we're being asked to approve outside of our normal procedures for policies. Todd, I think you were gonna look into this, and if I'm remembering right from your email, you said we can do this on an emergency basis.
Yep, according to our policy, it's section 4. Yeah, section 4, item C, if there's a policy like this that we have to get approved, then we can have that policy in place for 1 year. And during that year, we can go through the normal process and go through a first reading and second reading and formally adopt it. Yep. The other piece is that we have to have some union conversations too, because the language in the union contract has policy in it. So we do have to have an agreement with that, and I left a message with the president, and I didn't get a call back, so I'm assuming it's okay too. So we should be fine.
So we have a policy that allows us to address policy in an emergency.
We do, yeah,
We have
cause,
a policy on how to do policies.
yeah. I had to do some digging for that one too, Jerry. So,
Personally, we need to do this, so I would like to see us do it tonight, so that it's in place and we don't raise any issues. The bond has saved us quite a bit of money and we don't wanna.
I will move approval of policy 715.
We have a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. I would ask personally that, after we approve it tonight, if we do so, that we send it immediately to the policy committee and have them look at it, and we just start through that procedure and have our first and second reading, so we can do it the way that we normally would do it, and make sure it goes through the right procedures, rather than wait the year. That would be my personal preference,
That's fine.
that we look at it right away. So,
amend it?
I don't think that needs to amend the motion. I would leave it at the motion. I'll trust the policy committee that I'll be seeing in the next couple of months, for a first reading, and I think that would make me.
You're a brave soul.
we'll bring Ehlers down here to explain it.
I've looked at it and it certainly doesn't raise any concerns for me, but I would like to make sure we sort of go through the right process for our policies.
The procedures are very detailed, it's all information that we already have, so it isn't anything new that we have to do. The only concern I had was with the arbitrage, but that's all being handled by either Ehlers or the liquid asset fund, so.
Last thing we wanna do is raise a red flag for the IRS and come knocking
Absolutely.
at Colleen's door.
Yeah,
That's right.
don't wanna go through that.
All right, so, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second to approve the post-issuance debt compliance policy and procedures. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Colleen. Next on the agenda 8D4, approve Poppy Company's proposal for Faribault school maintenance. Agreement for a wide variety of schools. Kevin, did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Good evening. For several years, we've had a contract, or for many years in this district, a contract. Many years ago, it was Johnson Controls. Several years ago, during budget cuts, our contract with Johnson Controls was well over $200,000 at that point. During budget cuts, did go out to an RFP with both companies, Poppy and also with Johnson Controls, and getting back with numbers, and Johnson Controls Poppy's number was what you see here, $116,304. With that, Johnson Controls was still over $200,000 at that time. So we've had their contract in place for several years now and asking to renew that contract on a professional services agreement.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions?
But it hasn't gone out for bid since when?
2 years ago.
I know, I think this is a big enough contract that it should be going out for bid all the time. Are there only 2 companies that would bid on this?
There's 2 companies that I would like, what I would prefer to have in here, yeah. I can research more, but part of it's knowing our equipment, being able to work with it. But it can all be put in an RFP.
Mr. Chair, this
Yes,
was brought up
Mr. Chair.
a month ago, and items number 4 and 5, again, what I stated, has not been brought before the finance committee.
There was no meeting, I mean, I had no.
I know,
meetings.
but I thought they would, like you said, I don't know, we have a finance committee in August. And I thought, I don't know what, I know it was delayed in June, cause I have some questions about this, but, you know, usually a procedure with the contract, you bring it through the finance committee.
Kevin, can you tell us a little bit how this has worked out? We had a different contractor at one time and we've switched to Poppy. And can you say a little bit about how that's been for us?
The contract has the change, it has worked very well with us. They come 4 times a week, or their contract shows 4 days a week throughout the year to help with their HVAC work. Whether any air handlers or computerized software programs. Our old contract at the time was I don't know what term they used, platinum or premium, silver, gold edition, something, which included all parts and materials. When I evaluated the cost of the parts and that, it was, they had to, and any contractor would mark up their parts enough and to protect themselves to cover any kind of part that would have failed during the year. With this, we're taking the risk of paying for the parts that we need to use. I have no problem with that, paying for what we use instead of they have to guarantee us, and very seldom do we have anything major fail on us. And if it was that expensive, it wouldn't be covered in the contract anyway. So the old contract used to cover parts and materials. This is or labor and materials. This is only a labor contract, and all parts we pay for extra. So I had to bid that way with both companies. I mean, if you want me to take it back to there, if that's the consensus of the group, that's not a problem, I can run that through.
Well, I just wonder how much extra work we wanna go through for that. I remember having this conversation last year at this meeting, and, we talked about this, not having to put the bids out on this every year. And I don't remember all the conversation, but we came to the conclusion that we would continue to go with it. And, I'm assuming you have some things you like about this company that has served you well.
It's been working well, hence therefore I brought it this direction, but
I think they saved us $90,000 2 years ago,
yes.
so they do have
But it
some
wasn't
credibility,
really apples
so.
to apples contract, so you really can't.
At that point it was. They both bid the same thing. It wasn't, I did not have bid parts, one company parts and labor and the other labor only, no. It was same thing they were both looking at.
What's your timeline for this, Kevin?
Contract's expired already, so we've been past due for a couple weeks now.
Kevin, just
I'm comfortable with whatever the board decides, and if you want me to take it back, that's fine. I'll work with it. We'll make it work.
this is different than a performance contract by
Oh,
a
it's not,
company.
it's
not
not.
a payback, we guarantee you X number of dollars
Nope.
payback.
Nope. No, sir.
So how would you decide when to take it back and put it out for bids?
I have it for the next finance committee.
I know, I mean, how long would you, if we don't do anything tonight, how long will you continue with this company before you go back and ask for bids? Will you do it next year, or what's your
Their
plan?
contract is expired already.
So right now,
To put them under a contract, I would hit the streets later this week with an RFP.
But otherwise, you normally would have done it, consider doing it, next year, so that if we continued this year,
Well, if you continue this year, yeah, if you wanna go with the 1-year contract, I'd bring it back next year and make sure I go with getting RFPs and bids and everything at your request, yeah.
otherwise it's a 2-year contract, and we wouldn't do it for 2 years.
Correct.
So they finished 2 years, and now we're going for the next 2 years.
What's the feeling of the board on this?
Well, the procedure is to go through the finance committee, it never hit the finance committee. Right?
I think that's true. I think we're asking about whether or not we want to do an RFP as well. So I think there's two questions before us. Whether or not we.
There were several issues why I didn't go to the finance committee, both being mine, both being personal with my daughter having cancer, so.
Oh,
I couldn't make the meetings, I'm sorry.
You know, I favor going with this and then doing it next year. I think for convenience sake, for one thing, but, just consideration's been given to Kevin in this situation, and I think, rather than add to the more work right now, I think we should go with this for 1 year and get RFPs next year.
The chair will entertain a motion at this time to that effect or any other affecting member would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion for a 1-year contract with Poppy.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And make it for both the maintenance and then fire also, which is in the same ballpark. I mean, the same situation.
So the motion includes items 4 and 5 on the agenda?
That is correct.
Okay, we have a motion, and Howard, you understood that?
Yes,
Second,
yeah,
so
that's
we're
right.
okay with that? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve, both contracts in front of us, for HVAC and for fire with Poppy. Any further discussion?
And just a question, Kevin, so if we're doing this for a year, that 116 was for 2 years, so I'm assuming you
Yeah, it was
divided
per
in
year.
half.
It was
Was
per
per year?
It was per year. Yep.
That's what I'm saying, I think it's a big enough
Yeah,
contract,
yeah.
it really should go out for, and
Significant.
hopefully we could get more than 2 companies. I have to believe there are more than 2 companies out there that are doing this.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second in front of us, for a 1-year approval, of both Poppy contracts.
I'm just, if I could just, I'm trying to figure out, just in my own mind, I'm okay with going out for the RFP, but is there a dollar amount? Because we have other, service, and the district doesn't have to go through an RFP process for these types of services. One of those services that we have is an audit. And, do you wanna give me some direction so I can help these guys out, so it's clear where do you want to go for every service that we have out for RFP, or do you want to have a dollar amount that we want to take a look at? Because I know that, for example, the auditors we've had for 4 years, 5, maybe longer. And there might be other services that we have within the district that you want us to take a look at that we may want to pull out.
Why don't you refer that to the finance committee and let them.
Get some
come back
direction
with
from them.
a proposal for us.
Do you want to put that on the agenda? Okay, because we want to make sure that we're clear so that we're not,
Is there some state
Drawing saws
statutes
out of
too,
wood.
of the limit?
not for services. You can have an architect, and you can, as you feel for that architect, if that architect you're comfortable with, you can hire that architect without going through an RFP.
And I think that's also important for consistency. So a single item doesn't catch our eye as it comes before us, and we're being consistent on all items.
So I think good discussion at finance would be good.
Yeah. I would guess the eyeball test would indicate at this moment that when the number reaches 100,000, board members become queasy. That's my rough insight at this point. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second in front of us for approval on these 2 items. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin. Item 8D6, approval resolution 1218 relating to increasing the general education revenue of the school district and calling an election thereon. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the official approval of the resolution we talked about last week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'll introduce the resolution, 1218.
We have a motion for this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item?
Now, what words are going to be on the ballot? This 1 page?
There's a sample ballot. Do you see it?
Sample, right,
Yep.
this is gonna be?
Yep.
Is it fully understood with this that it's increasing by 600? Or it already says increase, but, I like the word, by an additional 600 on top of the 385.
I think on the ballot, we don't actually have any choice. I think that's designated by statute. So I don't think this board has any say in the wording on the ballot.
It came from the attorney's office, so they put it on there.
I think that's the case. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That's been my understanding in the past, that
I think we try to
the exact wording on the ballot is
mess around with it, we get in a little bit of trouble.
right.
Has proposed to increase its general education revenue by 600 per pupil. It says it.
And the bold says you're voting for a property tax increase. So. But again, I think that's all controlled by statute. So this the board doesn't have much control over
This-
exactly how that gets
Is
phrased.
in the 8 years, it's not a solid 8 years, or could somebody explain that, you could stop it after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or what?
The board can vote on that every year, even though the authorization is there for 8 years, but as the board acts on levies, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong,
You're right.
we can say we will levy up to $600 per pupil unit this year, or if we have a windfall, we can levy $500 or $600. It's at the discretion of the board.
And you can do the same thing for debt
Discretionary
service.
levy.
Yep, and you can do it for debt service too. You can do the same thing.
Any further discussions on this item? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll?
James Wolf,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
No.
Jason Ingber,
Aye.
Deb Davis,
Aye.
Tom Casper,
Aye.
and I vote aye for 6-1, Mr. Chairman.
Right, resolution passes. Item 8D7, approve 2012-2013 parking lot and security services quote for the Faribault High School with Premier Security. I don't know if
I'm
it's
waiting
in
for
there.
it to load up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is yours broken?
No, the window is, this is, you can kind of, you read the notation that, we have written in there, and I think you see what the recommendation is. So,
Looks like this quote actually went down slightly
yep,
from previous years. Okay. Is this a 2-year?
well, we just,
Just a year.
yeah, I think it's a year by
Just a
year.
year.
It's a 1-year. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve at this time.
So moved.
We have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion on this item? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just a comment, if you take a look at, $30 per semester, it doesn't appear when you drive by the high school that students have too much difficulty finding $30 to pay for their parking permits, so.
As observed by, as evidenced by.
It's full.
By the number of cars in the parking lot, as you're trying to look for parking spots.
And they park up by my house on the side street.
We have no other committee reports tonight, so moving on to item 10, school board retreats. Todd has asked that the board find some dates during September and February for some school board retreats to discuss our strategic vision and long-term strategic plans for the district. Anything else you want to say about those in specific, Todd?
Well, I just thought it made sense that we've got this really good strategic plan and we want to review it. I think having it, instead of trying to review it once a year, it'd be nice to review it twice a year, both prior or during the start of the school and kind of towards the middle of the school, so we can start reviewing for the following year. So I don't have any input on the dates in the calendar. I would like to hope, it'd be nice to have a 2-hour meeting. I don't think we have to muddy through it quite so much as we did the first time around. I think the strategic plan is out there and we can start really working off that plan. And coming up with goals for the superintendent and also the district, all those different pieces.
What if I suggested the 4th Monday of each of those 2 months, given that Monday is the time we're generally scheduling for these things? Would that be appropriate for each of those 2 months?
Sounds good to me.
Works for me.
Works for me.
September the 24th?
I assume that's correct.
Yes, yes, it is.
So that would be September 24th. I don't know if anybody has the February date in front of them.
I'll put it for you. February 25th.
February 25th. That would presumably not interfere with otherwise scheduled board meetings.
Holidays or, no, there's no holidays. No.
President's
No, no,
Day
what?
in February is at the 18th.
Yeah,
I think that's a, think it
So
should
what
be,
time of
The
day are we
third
talking
Monday.
about?
that's the third
Yeah,
Monday.
13.
I was gonna suggest an evening meeting, so a similar time to what most of our board meetings have been. If that-
You can Skype in the one in February, James.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Do you wanna do it like at 5:30 at the same time, and then we can have Sodexo do cater some
I
food?
like that
Hey,
suggestion.
good idea.
Good idea.
It's for 2 hours.
Okay,
Is that good?
all right, so we are
Great.
looking at 2 board meetings, to be scheduled, for the fourth Mondays of September and February, being September 24th and February 25th, beginning at 5:30. At this time, maybe the district office, it might be nice if we can find a facility off there to maybe break away to
Sure.
think about more.
Why don't we plan on the district office and we find some other place and
Yeah.
we'll make that change.
Make those changes. Okay. Excellent. Any further discussion on that item? Okay. Next item, approve resolution 1219 to rescind the termination of Mary, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, Mary Haugen for the 2012-2013 school year. Todd, you can say more about this, but my understanding is this has to do with a bumping issue, so previously this was a teacher who we thought was going to be bumped and now looks like doesn't need to be, but it doesn't change our total FTE in the
That's
in the
correct.
district.
Yeah, if you want a more detailed explanation, I can certainly invite Nicole up here, but that, what you just said is summarizes it.
So we're not adding a teacher to the district in terms of FTE, but because this person was bumped previously, to bring them back on, we need to rescind that termination.
That's it.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we need a roll call on this, Mr. Clerk.
James Wolfe,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jason Ingrid,
Aye.
Deb Davis,
Aye.
Tom Casper.
Aye.
I vote aye, 7-0, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion carries. Item 10C, approve the 2012-2013 McKinley Early Childhood Center Student Manual and the 2012-2013 Student Handbook for the Sun, Step, Reflections, and Focus programs at Cannon River Education Center. You have these in your handouts. Any discussion on these items? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion?
When is that construction gonna be done at CREC?
Well, we hope it's gonna be done before school starts. How's
Oh,
that?
okay, that's,
It's projected to be done in the middle of August.
okay, thank you. Okay.
But we know construction, so keeping our fingers crossed.
Is that in the hip?
I don't think so. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is item 10D, Superintendent Evaluation. Jerry, would you like to talk us through?
Thank you.
this?
At your table is a copy. If you recall, back at a work session in May, we went through this, and you've given a number of suggestions about how to deal with the evaluation process for the superintendent. And one of the things that you had asked, other than some grammatical changes, was that the superintendent have a chance to inject some comments regarding those areas that are on the evaluation. Todd has graciously submitted those. They are included in there in the document. It is now at a point where each of the board members will fill this out. Jason, do you want them to turn it into you, or how do you want that process?
Let's think of logistically what's the easiest.
I can send it to you electronically if you'd rather do it that way than a paper one. It's entirely up to you. But I think either way, Jason, you or me would be fine. It's up to you as chair.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy to have you collect it.
Right. If you would send them to me, what will also happen is, because the policy talks about a 360 assessment. So some of the staff people will be able to respond to this as well. We'll do a composite and share that at a future board meeting. I would like to do this, if we could, no later than July, August. Could we do it at the August board meeting? Is that realistic for board members to get it done by that time? Okay. All right, so if you can get it to me so that I can compile it and I'll get the information. Kathy, I'll work with you through, for some staff people. Todd, not to exclude you from the process, but I'm sure everybody loves you, so you don't have to worry.
Thanks.
So, when you say get to you, send it to you in the mail?
Yeah, send it to me in the mail. Or if you want it electronically, let me know and I'll send it to you electronically and then you can return it that way, whatever your choices would be.
I'd like it electronically.
Then what part of this do we fill out precisely?
What's that?
What part of it do we, like, fill
You
out?
fill out everything,
Okay,
everything that has a numerical rating, and then at the very end is a place for you to add comments, Mr. Olson, in the back of it, but, yeah, every one of the, behaviors does have a numerical rating. If you would please respond, with 5 being exceptional, 1 being, need for growth.
and do we make comments after each number,
If you wish.
or, but we don't, it's just more of a number thing, right?
Yeah, you can make comments if you want, I'll certainly, collate all the, comments as well.
But basically, you're rating from 1 to 5, right? Okay, thank you.
So, questions?
Jerry, do you want to send us, if we're going to send this in the mail, do you want to email us the appropriate address?
Yes, I will. It's in the daily news every day, so.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Paste it on there.
Yes, I will send you
Why don't you just say what
the,
it is?
1602 Windsor Place. Faribault, MN 55021.
I'm gonna drop it off in person just so I get you the cookies that I owe you.
Oh, that's right. My granddaughter's of an age where she's starting to eat cookies too, so.
These are good cookies.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions for Jerry on this item? Okay, hearing none, other items of information, we have no student representative here with us tonight. Any items from the school board members?
I do have one, and I emailed Jason about this. If you'll notice in the last electronic MSBA broadcaster, they talked about a study that's being conducted between, in collaboration with Minnesota State University Mankato, the university state institution, and MSBA regarding roles and responsibilities of school boards. I would encourage, and I'll find out more information as I share with Jason about this study, but I would like to encourage our board to participate in that study. I think it's very relevant. I also think it's very important to find out across the state how school boards perceive their roles and responsibilities in the governance of the schools. So if, with your permission, I will find out more information. I'll share it with Jason, and I'd very much like our board to participate in that study.
Right. I think that's an excellent idea.
Then Jerry, you'll just submit the whole board's names for the study?
Yeah, I'm gonna find out Richard, how it
Something.
works, and then
Okay.
I will certainly work through Jason, but, yeah,
Okay.
however that does.
Superintendent, any
Wait a
other?
minute, so
Sorry.
is anybody going to the summer conference?
I'll be at this Saturday session. I'm uncertain at this point whether or not I'll be at the Friday session, which I think relates to what Jerry was talking about, so I'm gonna wait and see.
I don't think those are the days are you talking about the same thing?
Well, you're talking about,
August.
are you talking about the summer seminar, cause that's August 6th and 7th, right?
Which I
It's a-
thought was
it's-
a
It's a
Saturday.
Monday.
That's a
No.
Monday and Tuesday.
Oh,
No,
I looked
no,
at
it's
it.
actually it's Sunday night and all day Monday.
And goes on
The-
into.
Yeah, early bird is Sunday night, yeah.
Yeah, I
That's-
mentioned
all
that,
But it's,
Yeah.
I'll have to look at those dates again.
yeah, and phase 1 and phase 2 are Tuesday.
I might just be, I think I knew that when I looked at the dates earlier and my memory didn't work out for me 2 minutes ago. That's okay.
Or, I have to think, I'm thinking on it, yeah. Just curious.
And I did send you an email, but it was just earlier today, Kathy, about
Oh, okay.
registering for the 6th,
Okay.
for the regular session, not the early bird session. All right, any other items of information from our board members? Okay. Hearing none, superintendent, Todd.
Yeah, I attended the city diversity task force that our mayor has set up, and it went very well. It was more of introductions and kind of brainstorming to begin with. We don't have a meeting set up quite yet, and we're working on that right now. But I look forward to working with that group, and it should be a very good, productive group that we are working with. Welcome to Colleen and Anne Marie. I was gone that first week, so I was on vacation up in Duluth at the North Shore, escaping some of the heat. And it was probably a good thing that I was away for that first week so you could actually get something done. I was also at a meeting with regard to the STEP program, and the STEP program is actually a program at Anoka Hennepin Tech School, and Howard was at that meeting, and Anne Marie was at that meeting with South Central College, and I think we had some very good, positive discussions with South Central College and the leadership team and everybody else that was there, and hopefully we can move forward and do a lot of collaborating with them in the future. I also worked with the Minnesota State University Mankato group last week. We had a work session with the other 5 superintendents that create this PDS group, Professional Development Schools group, that we discussed the AVID program, the co-teacher program, the mentor program, and other programs that are out there right now. One of the programs that we're looking at is that 11 through 14 program that we talked about with actually South Central College, and possibly tapping into the university resources to help us out with some of those pieces. There are a lot of other things that we threw out there, and we continue to work with MSU to access a lot of their talents and their resources. I am also on the Faribault Futures Planning team. It's another one of those committees you just can't say no to, and we had our first program meeting last Friday. We get together and we look at what the programs that the Faribault Futures classes have gone through in the past, and then we try to enhance them, make them better, try to figure out what programs are in need of repair and what programs are very good. And so we're in the process of creating a new program, and I'm hoping that we can maybe have another Faribault Futures out of the school district, and I've talked to a couple of staff members to see if they're interested in doing that. So the last thing I want to talk about is I'm actually creating a packet. I have a lot of the information coming from Mankato Public Schools, where I'd like to meet with each of the board candidates prior to the board election, and it's a nice packet to kind of get an understanding of what the school board is all about, and it might be useful for both the candidates that are running now and also the candidates that are not incumbents to take a look at and see what is the school board, what are some of the pieces of the school board that you may not be really aware of, and it kind of gives you a little bit of an inside track of what that all is, what that is about. So we've started the packet, and we're going to create that and hopefully have an invite to go through some of those things for a couple of hours and just visit with you. So, and I would like to do it with both the incumbents and also the other board members that are seeking election. Okay? And that is all.
All right. Dates to remember: August 6th, 5:30 work session at the district office. August 13th, finance meeting at the district office. August 13th at 6 p.m. policy meeting at the district office. August 20th at 6:30, right back here for our regular board meeting in City Hall. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
One more, please. What day in August is the teachers thing that you sent out? I'm surprised that wasn't put
The
on here. So.
Monday.
Is it the 27th?
Is that the Monday?
27th.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
At what time?
It starts at 8, so if you wanna come at 7:45 or so, that'd be great.
Thank you.
You bet.
August 27th.
Yes, that's last Monday.
The teacher.
Yep.
Well,
At the high school?
Yeah, we usually meet in the
Hanson
auditorium.
Theater.
All right. At this moment, I will then entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In a second,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.